Well, it's once again, welcome. It's the preview show, everyone. I'm Casey Campbell. That's Jonathan Fiel from the Racing Experts. Boy, what a weekend we had out in Phoenix with the Xfinity and Cup Series, and of course, there's a lot of things going on in Atlanta, and also dirt. We got some dirt stuff. We'll get to that later, though. But first, we got to talk about what a weekend it was in Phoenix for the Xfinity Series once again, and I think it was proven last week that if you want to win this Xfinity Series championship, you have to go through Austin Cindric.
You have to, yeah. Austin Cindric put on a very good performance in Phoenix. Won second time in a row at Phoenix. It was interesting to see him up there with Justin Allgaier had a really good day. Ran into trouble late. Some of the JGR Toyotas. Brandon Jones had a really good run, but yeah, Austin Cindric was just strong and steady throughout the whole race.
Yeah, and then a lot of guys got some career best finishes. How about Brandon Brown getting third? Bailey Curry from the Mike Harmon best finish ever in the history of Mike Harmon racing. In that 74, good to see him running well. Jeremy Clements another top 10. It's crazy to see these guys, but we've always seen guys running well at tracks. You've always seen smaller teams running well, but that's nothing new. But it's the tracks that they're running at, which is very, very surprising.
Yeah, because I mean, we saw in the Cup race a very typical running order. You had Penske Fords up in the top 10, you had JGR Toyotas, you had Rick Hendrick Chevrolet, Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets, very typical top 10. But then you look at the Xfinity Series and you have those names up there. I mean, you saw the Cal League cars, they were up there, they've been strong, but Bailey Curry and Brandon Brown. I mean, Ty Gibbs too, another strong run. Riley Herbst up there, very atypical names for top 10. It's I can't really say atypical though, because Brandon Brown, he has done pretty good, with the operation they have. They made the playoffs last year. I remember back in Dover last August, they run inside the top 10. There's been other cases where they've done that. So that team has really done something cool. They're kind of like what Jeremy Clements has been with his family racing team for years, and it's good to see them doing well.
Yeah, four top tens in the last six races for that 51 team. So we'll have to see on that. In the Cup race, it looks like we're kind of starting to see the establishment teams really kind of starting to pick up. We've had five races, five different winners, but what we've seen so far is that Joe Gibbs Racing, Hendrick Motorsports, and Team Penske are going to be the three teams to beat. Not as similar as 2018 was, because that was only when dominated by three drivers, but now it's just teams that are doing it. Penske cars are running up there, Hendrick's up there, and then Gibbs is up there. 2 wins for Joe Gibbs so far.
Yeah, NASCAR's got to be loving this because Toyota, of course, is represented by JGR, and Penske is represented by Ford is represented by Penske. Chevrolet is represented by Hendrick Motorsports, so that's great for the sport too, just be able to have that manufacturer representation. But yeah, I think this season really is probably the closest I've seen the JGR Toyotas, the Penske Fords, the Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets, and I think that bodes really well for just the competition because, like you mentioned, 2018 it was the JGR Toyota, Kyle Busch ran pretty well, but most of JGR kind of was off the mark a little bit. And Kevin Harvick was good, stellar, and SHR was good, but not quite as good. But this season it's a little more level, which is good.
Yeah. All right. So before we start to preview Atlanta, also Martin Truex Jr. gets that big win.
First Phoenix win.
This is everyone was talking about retirement and all that, blah 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 blah, and I think Martin Truex Jr. is here to stay, folks.
Yeah, it's funny. It was funny in the post race press conference. Bob Parkers had a question, and Martin was like, I'm surprised you didn't ask. I'm surprised you didn't ask me about retirement, Bob, and stuff." So, yeah, I think he's really starting to come into his own just with crew chief James Small. And one thing to point out too, even though Martin Truex Jr. and James Small, they only had one win last season, they had a number of top three finishes, really close to victories, like in the Southern 500, in the Dover race. They ran really well, but they just couldn't get the wins, get the results. And so I think it's good that they're starting off the season just so early with a win, because I think that's really going to boost their confidence. They even said, I was listening to what James Small and Martin Truex Jr. were saying in the post-race press conference about how if they would have come here back in November in the championship four, they would have been embarrassed because they ran off the mark. But being able to win like this really helps them have a confidence boost and really feel sure of themselves for if they come back in November with a chance at the championship.
Boy, they're 19 teams going to be strong, but we'll have to see how that's really going to go. But there's a couple things that we want to kind of go into with this. Kyle Busch not running well. Stewart Haas Racing not running well. If okay, so if there's a team in an organization that you think is going to have who's going to bounce back first out of all the teams that we haven't mentioned outside of the big three, who do you think it is and why?
I think Kevin Harvick and Stewart Haas Racing is going to be the one to bounce back. Harvick he's shown good performance. He hasn't led as many laps as a typical season, but he's been up there. He finished sixth at Phoenix. Of course, he ran well at Homestead. He was up there in the Daytona 500 too, running pretty well. So I think Harvick is going to be the one. He has a great track coming up this weekend at Atlanta where he can he does well at hugging the white line. He's the best guy, on the surface. So I think SHR and Kevin Harvick are probably going to be the first to come back. Kyle Busch, I think it's what we're seeing right now with him and Ben Bayshore. I apologize if the pronunciation is screwed up, but Kyle Busch and his crew chief is just, they're going through a lot of growing pains right now. I think it's the same case as what Martin Truex Jr. and James Small were going through last season. I think Kyle Busch will be okay. I don't think it's going to be as great of a season as 2018 or 2019 when he won the title, but I think it'll be a very respectable season. So I think it'll take some time for them to catch on. Kevin Harvick too, but I think Kevin Harvick will be the first one to bounce back.
Okay. Well, before we go into Atlanta, we have some Bristol dirt news to talk about because we've got all these Cup guys that want to go run the truck race. A few of them got announced today. So I'll kind of recap. So Chase Briscoe is going to run the 04 that usually is ran by Corey Roper. Kevin Harvick's going to David Yolen Racing in the 17. Martin Truex Jr. was announced that he'll be in the 51 for KBM. Bubba Wallace, this one just got announced today. He'll be with Spencer Davis. Ryan Newman's going to be with Means' son, a new 39 team, so he'll be in there. Myatt Snyder's going to be running for the Rayum brothers, and I think I covered them all. So, yeah, it's we are definitely seeing a lot, and who knows, we could see more heading into this weekend. So. And also a note, a lot of guys are going to be running a Trans Am race at the Roval. Now, there's about 6 guys that are going to be running that race. Connor Mozak, Sam Mayer, Ty Gibbs, Harrison Burton, Corey Heim, and Brandon Jones. So lots of road course stuff to really kind of look at and see. So you're going to see a lot of guys running road courses, I think, heading into, with this and stuff. Okay. And of course, ARCA was last week. Ty Gibbs won that race as well, but we have to talk about Atlanta. And let's start with the truck race. And of course, what we've seen so far in the truck series is we have a couple headlines that we'll get to in a moment, but you have to beat Toyota. That's been the biggest thing this year. And we haven't seen the GMS trucks or the Nice trucks or any of the Fords kind of come into their own because the Toyota's just been dominating the entire thing. I know there's a lot of them, but they've just been, flat out dominating the competition.
They have been. Ben Rhodes, of course, starting the season with 2 wins in a row. John Hunter Nemechek, of course, getting the win at Las Vegas. I was looking here at the top 5 at Las Vegas, all Toyotas. it's crazy to see how well they're doing. There's 7 Toyotas in the top 10 at Las Vegas. They've really stepped up their program this season. I think also too, just being able to have good drivers around, and like a good solid program. I think no shade at all to anybody who, to Rafael Lessard, to Christian Eckes, no shade at all to them. But John Hunter Nemechek just bringing that Cup experience, and also Chandler Smith, I think, is just a tremendous talent that really brings something to the team. And Kyle Busch running, of course, and ThorSport's got a good lineup, and so they have a really solid lineup right now that I think is really allowing their performance to really step up and be good.
Yeah, Stuart Friesen's running well. Austin Hill's running well, and of course, you don't forget Derek Kraus in the BMR Toyota too. So, yeah, they've got a strong bunch. But I'm always said, I think we're going to hear from GMS. I think they'll have something to say, because I think those trucks are going to be competitive. And also, we're seeing camping. We saw a lot of Camping World trucks out there. We're going to see some guys drive the Overton scheme. I think two GMS trucks, Zane Smith and Sheldon Creed, they're going to be running it. I think also 3 of the Nice trucks are going to be running that scheme as well. So it's definitely good. Guys like Dawson Cram, I think Norm Benning's going to run it. I haven't seen the final count yet. Parker Kligerman, there's going to be a lot of trucks that are going to be running that scheme. So once again, to Vince Welch and to Michael Waltrip and everybody everyone at Fox and everybody at MRN, good luck trying to find all those trucks out there, because there's a lot of them. Couple of guys that are going to be in there, couple headlines for the truck race at least. Kyle Busch is back. Well, yeah. Ross Chastain is back in for Nice Motorsports. And I think the biggest headline of them all is Bill Lester is back as well. He'll be in the 17 for David Gillen Racing. I got a chance to talk to Bill one-on-one this week, and he's a really, really good guy. And it's definitely good to see him back in the truck series and trying something that he hasn't done in 14 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still remember him 2006, 2007 or so with the number 23 Waste Management Dodge, and he made his Cup Series debut at Atlanta, no less. So that's cool to see him back. I certainly hope he does well. He's a good figure to have around for the sport. A lot of history there too, so it'd be interesting to see him back out there.
Yeah, it'll be good to see Bill Lester out there, and of course, good friend. Thank you to my good friend Doug Barnett for helping me set that up. That was a fun interview with Bill Lester. So yeah, it's definitely good to see him back. Okay, so the Xfinity race is also going to have a few names in there. No, Ty Gibbs is not in the field. We'll see him at Martinsville, but this is going to be we have Martin Truex Jr. He'll be back in the Xfinity Series, first time since 2010. He's going to be in there. So, but we've got a pretty competitive field. It's the teams that are running well. Of course, you got Cindric, but we've seen those Colleague cars. They're running really good up there, and this is probably the best that we've seen. And the team that's not running well is Junior Motorsports.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Justin Allgaier. What happened last week at Phoenix is he was running, of course, second, running for the win with Austin Cindric, hit the wall coming out of the corner, ended up finishing 8th. I mean, still a good finish, but it could have been a lot more. Noah Gragson had that weird gear issue, the fire and stuff, just Josh Berry ran into issues. So I think
Matt ran into issues.
May did too. Yeah. I think it's just, it's not necessarily that the performance isn't there. They just need the luck. And I think that'll come, just with more runs inside the top 10, fortune kind of going their way. So I wouldn't panic on JRM, but it's definitely concerning. It's definitely unfortunate to not see them have performance yet this season.
Is Daniel Hemrick going to win a race or something? Because what we've seen with him is, he's so consistent, but he just can't get the job done for some strange reason. Do you think do we see Daniel Hemrick going to victory lane this year?
I think so. I think we will see him get to victory lane. I think just with JGR equipment just being up front, just running well, I think it's kind of like JRM. If he keeps up the performance, if he keeps it up well, his day is going to come. And I think Daniel Hemrick will get to victory lane at some point this season.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be an interesting race for sure. And we had AJ, and then of course AJ Allmendinger, the defending winner of this race.
Mm-hmm.
He did not have, and he said this week, and he said he did not have. He did struggle this week with at at Phoenix, and we've seen Jeb was fast, Justin Haley was fast, and AJ had a pretty good finish, but what are we going to see out? What are we going to see out of Colleague? What do they need to do? Because if Colleague wins, it has a happy Chris Rice, and we all know how that is.
Yeah, always a good thing to have a happy Chris Rice. I think this weekend, AJ will run well. I don't. I think we'll see AJ run well. We'll see Justin run pretty well. Jeb will. I think he'll be up in the top 10, around the top 10 or so. But I think the people you're going to have to watch for, of course, is Austin Cindric. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with this season. Of course, Martin Truex Jr., I think just being a Cup driver in Xfinity, it's gonna be really interesting to see how he does, like especially adjusting, back to those cars, because the Cup Series has run the high downforce package for the last 2 seasons or so. It hasn't run like the similar low downforce package in a while. I think we're gonna see another competitive race. It definitely seems like the Xfinity. It seems like the Xfinity field this season is competitive. It's close. There's good racing. I think Cali will be in the mix. I think you'll see JRM kind of in the mix too. I would kind of look for a good competitive race, with a lot of different faces up front for Saturday.
Yeah, and of course you got the Cup race. Kevin Harvick enters this race as the defending winner. When we go to Atlanta, we always see that Harvick's always good there, Keselowski's always good there. It's really going to be, I think it's going to be battle between those Gibbs cars and those Penske cars, and we could see Hendrick up there too, because we have them. But what are we going to see at Atlanta? Is this a big redemption week for Kevin Harvick?
I think it's a very big telltale weekend for Kevin Harvick, because just going back, I'm looking here, since 2014, Harvick has led at least 45 laps at Atlanta, has run well, performed well. I think if this weekend he goes out and is off the mark, I think we should kind of be a little bit concerned for SHR, going forward this season. But I would expect Harvick to really have a good bounce back weekend, to perform well in the race. But we'll have to see. I mean, it was very weird seeing SHR running like all 4 cars off the lead lap at Las Vegas, a track they typically do well at. I mean, Harvick won back in 2018, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. If he does well, I think, it's a good sign for the season. But if he doesn't, there might be some questions from it.
Yeah. Okay. You know what it's time for? It's time for picks. And once again, we cannot pick for. Well, I was close for the.
Hey, I was close too. Allgaier.
You were too, and then well, I think that there. But the truck. Let's start with trucks. We all know Kyle Busch is in the field, but not sure what's going to happen with that. But it's so hard to. Grant Enfinger won last year's race, and when Kyle started to have some issues. Well, I don't know. It's not been last few years. It's not been a Kyle Busch type year. But when we know he's in the Truck Series, we know that the series kind of amps up their game a little bit. So I gotta take Kyle, because I have to. I just don't know. You gonna take Kyle too, Fiel?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take his teammate John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek, I think he has something to prove. Of course, jumping down from the Cup level, I think he's gonna have a drive and passion this weekend. I think he's gonna get the job done.
Okay, Xfinity, who you got?
Xfinity, ooh, I'm gonna go with. I want to say Austin Cindric, but also I think. I'll go with Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric, give him 2 in a row. I think he's going to do well this weekend.
Yep, I got Cindric as well. So that's there is no stopping that 22 car this year. It's definitely going to be up there, but who knows? But cars to watch. I think those Colleague cars are going to be very strong this weekend. Mm-hmm. And finally, the Cup race. I think yeah, but here's the thing. I think I do think a Ford is going to win, but not the Ford we were talking about. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski. He's going to get his first win of the season for Team Penske. He's going to be the first Penske driver to get it done. But
You know, you read my mind because I was thinking of Keselowski. But I got to stick to my guns. I'm going to say Kevin Harvick. I think Harvick gets the win.
It'd be a good thing if Kevin Harvick got his first win. It's be a big confidence booster, not just for Harvick, not just for Ronnie Childress, but that entire Stewart-Haas team. It is much needed to see that team get it done this week. Okay, well, that's the preview show, everybody. We'll see if we can actually pick drivers to win this week. But tune in next week, because guess what we have next week for you? The big one. I think this is the biggest race of the year and probably the most important race that NASCAR has had in a very long time. And we've had a lot of them in the past year with, everything with COVID and stuff. But we're going to go to the Bristol Dirt. We're going to get a little dirt on our boots. It's going to be a fun race. We're going to do some dirt racing, and who knows, we're going to be filled with surprises. But anyway, thank you so much, Jonathan Fiel, always. Thanks for coming on, and enjoy the races this weekend.